the freezer is brilliant. I mean, if the freezer had not come out in 19 whenever, and had been a brand new revelation to us, where I said, God, this is a brand new appliance that is going to, preservative free, keep your food and make it last for ages. We'd all love it. It would be like the new air fryer, but because we've all had one in our households for like 50 years, everybody's sort of oblivious to it and doesn't really use it. I never batch more than 2 meals basically at a time. One for now, one for the freezer.
That myth has not gone away about reheating rice, and it's, to me, endlessly fascinating because there are cultures literally who have built recipes the world loves based on cooking leftover rice. Like, hello, fried rice, right?
Your past self has taken care of you. You are your future's friend, your own friend to yourself.
So this is now where it gets very interesting, I think, Suzanne.
Let's get your espresso martini made in advance.
Can you actually do that?
Yes.
Welcome to In Good Taste, the podcast on food matters for food lovers. I'm Malika Basu, food writer, speaker and advisor. And every week we bring you sharp, snackable conversations about what's shaping what we eat and drink across kitchens, continents and cultures. From big issues to bite-sized trends, it's all on the table. Now, today we are talking about clever ways to meal prep and cook with none other than Suzanne Mulholland, aka the Batch Lady. Suzanne is a multi-best-selling author. Dare I ask how best-selling you are, Suzanne? Is it 5 times or something?
I think we've just hit 6 times now. So yeah.
Oh my goodness. You're also star of the telly. And I'm pretty certain you're going to tell us things that absolutely blow our mind about what we know batch cooking really is. So welcome, Suzanne. Hi.
Thank you so much for having me. I've listened to your voice many times over the years on podcasts, so it's lovely to meet in person.
Oh, well, it's very nice of you to make the time to do this because I know you've got a new book coming out in the run-up to Christmas called Batch Cooking for Christmas Saves Christmas. Is that right?
Yeah, the Batch Lady Saves Christmas.
The Batch Lady Saves Christmas. Now, I'm going to also provocatively call this episode Batch Cooking Saves Lives. Because I think if you add everything up in terms of time, effort, brain power, your freezer space, and also Christmas, a very, very stressful time of the year, I think all in all, we need a book that's called Batch Cooking Saves Lives. I think that has got to be in. I think batch cooking, Batch Lady makes a very interesting change from Bag Lady, Suzanne. You have to tell me how you got into all of this in the first place.
Yeah, so I am really studied so I'm a time management expert. I studied time management. I'm very interested in the use of time. And I used to work in business and I was in London. I live in Edinburgh in Scotland, but I was in London and I was looking at how people, how companies save time when they've got employees and they need to look at getting certain jobs done. And then I stopped and had kids and started, having little kids and having to cook every single meal, day after day after day, the monotony of what's for lunch, what's for dinner. And I realized actually that a lot of the things that I was teaching in business and in the corporate world could actually be transferable skills to being at home, running a house, looking after a family, and the stresses and the boredom that comes with what's for dinner night after night after night. And so I began to change a lot of things in my life, not just about food, but about everything that I did to make it more succinct so that all the boring stuff that we didn't want to do necessarily could be done in a quicker period of time. And I say boring because I actually love cooking. I'm what I like to call a peacock cooker, which is I love cooking when I have friends and family over and people to appreciate it. I just hate the monotony of cooking for my own family on a Tuesday, on a Wednesday, on a Thursday, with little appreciation. And I think there's a lot of people out there that feel exactly the same.
Gosh, can you see me nodding vehemently here? I mean, it's interesting, isn't it? Because I work in food, but the daily cookery is just drudgery. There's no better word for it, is there? Because you kind of hit this point, and I love the work of 5 o'clock apron, Claire, because you open the fridge and it's just like, oh, your heart slightly sinks, and you're like, what now? What do we actually do again with this half-filled fridge? And a lot of the circles I move around in with the food systems chat, we talk about people should cook at home, but the boredom and the relentlessness of it, if you want to do it on a daily basis, which is what you want to do and I want to do, is really quite real. So, well, we're very, very grateful to the business world. What can I say? I mean, you've obviously struck a massive chord, like 6 times best-selling. So there's a huge market for this.
Yeah, I literally started this with some friends, mums at the school gate saying, will you show us what to do? We raised some money for a charity, and they came around to the house, and I literally showed them my first ever thing, which was like doing 10 meals in an hour. And somebody at the back of the room, talking about saving lives, somebody said to me, this is life changing. You need to do this. You should do this. This is what we all need. We need somebody to help us make it easier, make those decisions that we need to make, because it is a lot of decisions. It's not just cooking dinner. It's what am I buying? What's already in the house? What did we have last night? What did the children have at school for lunch? How am I going to save money? It is all of those decisions encompassed in the what am I having for dinner? And a lot of people that don't cook on a regular basis don't realize how many decisions we actually make and how many questions we have to answer for that one simple meal.
Completely. And, do you even wonder why people don't bother? Why they then just say, do you know what? I'm not going to bother with this. We're just going to eat something ready made, or, knock something up that I haven't really thought about nutritionally or in terms of what else is featuring in the diet. It's no surprise we just quit at the first. It's quite a lot. The other thing, of course, is that it's often women, isn't it, who have to deal with this.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I'd love to say that it was across the board, it was a mix of everybody, but I live in Scotland, and I definitely say from it's at least the north of England up, then yes. I mean, I think all over the world, a lot of the time it is still women who are actually dealing with it. So what I like to do is give somebody, to me, it's not about each individual recipe. I actually don't care as much about the recipes. It is about the format of the method that comes with it, allowing you to think about things in advance, make a plan, and I do the structure and the hard work for people so that they can just follow along. So that effectively what we are doing is creating our own ready meals that are home cooked. But you feel
Wow.
them as ready meals, ready to pull out on those busy nights where you just need a ready meal. Your past self has taken care of you. You are your future's friend, your own friend to yourself.
So this is now where it gets very interesting, I think, Suzanne, because I love batch cooking, right? So you're talking to someone who's effectively a convert. But what I love about your method is you're actually talking about batch prepping as well as cooking.
Yes.
So normally what maybe, I don't know, you tell me if I'm wrong here, but what I would do, and this is my 19th year of food writing, right? So I have talked about this as a method for a long time. So I started my journey with Indian cookery, and it is very easy to cook Indian food in quantity, and a lot of it freezes really well. So what I would normally do is cook double and save half.
Yeah.
Now, I'm also unusual in that I'm a solo household. My kids are only with me half the week. So I'm divorced and I co-parent. But what that means is suddenly, if you haven't got your measurements right, suddenly you've got a lot of dal to get through or a lot of chicken curry to stomach. But what I love about what you're doing, and please take us through this, is that you're actually starting earlier. You're saying slice it up, chop it up, wrap it up, and pop it in the freezer.
Yeah. So there are things that cook well and freeze well amazingly, and yes, you are so lucky. Indian food is great for batch cooking. Anything that's in a sauce is generally very good because it makes all your meat or your veg airtight, so it works really well, anything that's in a sauce. But there are plenty of things that we eat that are not in sauces. For example, let's just take a stuffed chicken breast, for example, where we might say stuff it with some mozzarella and some some meat and wrap it up in something like a piece of bacon or something like this, and some that you want to eat, but actually you don't want that to be cooked, frozen, defrosted, and then eat it, because a chicken breast would not taste nice like that. So instead, I want to show you how on those certain meals that you are actually prepping them all raw. So you're putting all the ingredients together, you're making them up, and you're putting them in your freezer. So they're very much like, I call them grab and cook meals, because you're grabbing them out the freezer and then you cook them. You haven't done the pre-cooking into the freezer. So I think there's always a bit of both. There's meals that are great that are cooked first, like dal, like bolognese, that you can cook and get in your freezer. And then there's other meals that are better that you haven't cooked them at all and you have prepped them ahead. And the whole point of prepping them ahead is, again, that headspace. You know, if I was going to do some stuffed chicken breasts, I'm a family of 4. I'm going to double it. I'm going to put 8 in the freezer. That's 2 nights worth of dinners that I know that are in the freezer with the side that goes with them. Again, I've created a ready meal so that on that Tuesday night when I want them, I'm not having to think about all the individual components that go up to make that recipe. It's instead been made into this ready meal. So that is the difference between the two, whether you are what we like to call cooking ahead or whether you're grabbing and cooking.
I love it. I think so. It's almost like it's not just the time you've spent with prepping, but also the thinking taken out of it. So you've done the thinking in advance, and then it's just an assembly job. It's just pulled something out, and the job is done, right? Which makes me think that I'm doing it all wrong, Suzanne. Like, you're turning my life upside down. This is some kind of like kitchen just-in-time thinking. I don't know what the business equivalent of this is.
I don't think anybody's doing it wrong. I think, I mean, I'm completely non-judgmental. I'm like, just, we have to get to the end point of getting it done. But I think that unlike a lot of food writers, my background is not food. I was taught very well by my grandmother and my mother, so I'm a good home cook, but I'm not a professional cook. I think it then allows me to look at recipes in a different way. I'm looking at recipes in terms of, I'll write a recipe out that I think will be good. And then I will think, right, how do I then make it done in less time? So I will simplify it. I'll maybe change, instead of chopping a vegetable, instead of chopping an onion and peeling a garlic, I'm going to use ready chopped onions from the freezer that you can buy already frozen, same price as unfrozen. I'm going to buy already pureed garlic. So I'm going to use lots of what we like to call cheats ingredients that help make the process quicker.
It's fascinating stuff. So one of the things I do, and tell me what you make of this, is when you buy a bag of celery, like you buy a pack and it's far too much celery. Every recipe needs like 1 stick of celery. What you do with the other 1,700 sticks that come in a pack is like anybody's guess, right? So what I tend to do then is just chop up the rest of it and pop it in the freezer. Except now I've got this giant bag of chopped celery in the blooming freezer. And there is just no way the 3 of us are going to get through that much celery, like, for ages. So, I also do that with cheese. So I can buy a big block of cheese and grate it and pop it in the freezer. So now you've got me thinking that actually prepping a whole meal possibly makes a bit more sense because it's there ready, rather than me having to think, well, now I've just transferred the contents of my fridge veg box into the freezer, and now blooming what?
Yeah. On the Batch Lady, I don't talk a lot about freezing individual ingredients for that reason, because to me, that individual ingredient, whether it's in my fridge or my freezer, it's still causing me issues in my head, which is, what am I going to do with it? So I would rather freeze a whole meal. Yes, I do like to have freezer ingredients. Like, I love frozen onions, frozen peppers, frozen garlic, frozen chili. I love using all of them. But yeah, just transferring things because you've got too much of it actually still doesn't sometimes help the issue, does it? The best thing that we can actually all do is probably just not buy it in the first place, I hate to say. and try to
Right.
buy like it's really hard because the thing is everything comes in multi-packs nowadays,
That's
so
a
we all
huge
end up
problem.
with this extra. But it is, I mean, it is very tricky. But yeah, if you can work on putting meals in the freezer, it's definitely the best way to go around it. But the freezer is brilliant. I mean, if the freezer had not came out in 19 whenever, and had been a brand new revelation to us, where I said, you know, God, this is a brand new appliance that is going to, you know, preservative free, keep your food and make it last for ages. We'd all love it. It would be like the new air fryer, but because we've all had one in our households for like 50 years, everybody's sort of oblivious to it and doesn't really use it.
Well, I think you make a really good point. You could say the same about a microwave, couldn't you? I mean, a microwave actually has so many uses, and in some ways, we love the new and the different and the shiny. But I'd argue that we're not even using the equipment we've got properly. I mean, how many of us know what all the different buttons on the oven actually mean, right?
Not me.
Well, maybe not the dishwasher, nor the tumble dryer either, but fine. But also, I had read this really funny thing about how an air fryer is basically a mini oven with great PR. And I thought, oh, that's great. And how big is your freezer? Tell me, Suzanne, is it just massive? Is your freezer a house?
Yeah, so I have a room of freezers, much like a freezer room in a restaurant. I live on a family farm, so we have lots of outbuildings. But then I am the batch lady, so we test every, I mean, we've got 8 cookery books. They're all tested over and over again because unlike normal recipe writers, of course, I need to come up with the recipe. Then I have to freeze it, defrost it, try it from frozen, cook from frozen. So we end up with a lot of things. Yes, my children are well used to eating batch lady test recipes.
Are they, how old are they? Dare I ask?
They're older now, so they're 19 and 17, so they're very self-sufficient. So yeah, definitely moved on in the last few years.
I love that. I love that. Yeah, mine are 16 and 15, and they complain a lot about the fails, the recipe fails, but I'm afraid there is no other way. It's an occupational hazard with the mummy who does this for a living, right? Um, Tell me a little bit more about this freezing things properly, because obviously we've done the prep, we've done the thinking, we've then packaged it up. Because the other tip that you have that slightly blew my mind was that we are storing our food in the freezers all wrong, aren't we?
Well, it depends. I mean, I wouldn't say all wrong, but there's definitely new ways to do it these days. So the best thing to do is what I would say before you even get to the freezer. When we talk about batch cooking, I never batch more than 2 of the same meals.
Ha.
So we always do. Oh,
Oh,
I don't know what happened there.
is that because you said two? Let's see if mine work.
And then we got some
Ooh,
nice balloons.
no,
Who knows?
no.
I never batch more than 2 meals basically at a time. One for now, one for the freezer. And I think that if not, you just end up with, you know, masses of the one dish that you don't, you know, you keep eating time and time again. So I don't really believe in batch cooking as it used to be of like, let's make a vat of it and be eating it for ages. Let's not. Let's just make 2 of the same one. Occasionally, if I'm doing something like a chili and my kids love it, I'll maybe make 3, but I won't really make much more than that. And then when it comes to freezing it, I freeze everything in freezer bags. So
Hmm.
just your normal food bags, and you put it in cool once it's cooled down, and you freeze it and freeze it flat. So it actually all your freezer meals end up like a library book. They look about as thin as that. And what that means is it is airtight, which is great. It's all the same shape, so they're stackable in your freezer. So you're not going to get freezer burn, and you're not going to end up with these weird and wonderful dishes that you've tried to sort of pack in different ways. You know, Tupperware, you often put things in a Tupperware tub and it takes up a lot of room. But not only that, if you brought out say you brought out a dal, if you've put it in an ice cream tub, it's going to be massive, thick, and it's going to take a long time to defrost. If you've got something in a bag that's this thin, it's going to defrost very quickly. My top tip is if you've taken something out of the freezer in a bag and you need it straight away, is stand it upright so the top of the freezer bag, which is open, or would have the seal in it, put it in cold water, leave it for about 10 minutes, 10, 15 minutes, and it will instantly defrost.
Wow. Who knew? So, okay, I don't want to actually expose myself on this podcast, but yes, there are plenty of Tupperware boxes lurking in my freezer. And I love this tip because it makes so much sense to actually almost have a bookshelf, if you like, of frozen goods. And that's how I do my quinoa. So when I do grains, that's how I tend to freeze it. But it had never occurred to me, I don't know why, that you could do that equally well with anything with liquids or with a bit of sauce attached as well. Freezer bags, do you have any suggestions for which ones? Because increasingly we can buy the ones that are reusable, can't they? They're spenny,
Yeah.
they're more expensive.
Yeah, so I would say have a mix. So have the ones that are reusable, which are PEVA. I think they're made of PEVA and they're sort of pliable, so they're very good. They have a double seal, so they seal very well and they work great. But also have some as well that are just the ones that you can buy out of your local supermarket. Yes, they're plastic, but they can all be reused. They do say on them that they can be washed and reused, so you should wash them all. But I tend to keep those ones. If I'm making something that's going to be, it's maybe got a lot of turmeric in it, it's going to be bright orange, it's going to stain my lovely expensive bag quite quickly, then I would use those ones.
Okay, well, that's a top tip. And one of the ways I've been dealing with that is just getting rid of the boxes and the very basic Ziploc freezer bags as they kind of wear and tear, and then replacing them with the nicer ones. So I suppose we could do that. We could transition to it. There's no need for everyone to run out and go and just replace everything, right? Excellent. Now you've been lifting your book. That is your new book, I suspect, that you have lifted. So you have to show us what. Yeah. So we must talk a little bit about Christmas because it is utterly stressful, isn't it? If you're doing the Christmas meal. And so what inspired it? Was it literally that was the inspiration?
Yeah, I've wanted to do it for a long time actually, and I've had it written for quite a long time because I do Christmas in my house and have done for the last 20 years and usually have about 15 people on Christmas Day. So I have it sort of down pat of what I can get organized in advance because again, looking back in our lives is I would say that throughout the whole of sort of December, that festive period, no matter how you're celebrating it, is busy. Kids have school concerts, there's nights out, there's work nights out, there's bake sales, there's just a load more of things and stuff that is put onto us in our calendar. And so I think getting organized for that month ahead is really good. So I actually advocate on the Batch Lady, let's get ready in November when we're all
Wow.
playful very much. It's dark nights, we're home early, there's not a lot going on. Let's just get December organized in November, and then come December, when it is really busy and it's exciting and we want to go to all these nice things, we can because everything else is sorted. All the food is sorted and we've organized in advance. So in terms of the book, yes, there's lots in it about Christmas Day, but I also give meal planners for the 2 weeks ahead of Christmas of just normal family fare that are quite often one pot meals that you don't have to think about sides or anything like that, any extras. So it's about alleviating that full festive period. And after it as well, there's a section on leftovers. So what to do with all your leftovers and how to use them.
I love this. And this is probably going out in November, so perfect timing. Presumably, because I don't have very many freezers. I have one large freezer, like an American fridge freezer, but I suppose we need to start even earlier, just clearing out the freezer, don't we? Like making room for all the great stuff to come effectively. And then one can follow your book and just get through the Christmas season.
Yeah, I would say beginning of November. Save you want to save some money for Christmas anyway, so let's get eating the random stuff out your freezer. Let's give your kids the weird and wonderful bits that are in there. And then the great thing is you actually only need one usual freezer drawer for Christmas. If you're freezing flat, you only need one drawer. You'll fit in the 20 recipes in that one drawer that you need. So don't worry if anybody's listening to this that doesn't have a massive freezer, one freezer drawer, that's all you need. And then, yeah, you can just start in advance, because that's the whole beauty of it. It's about cooking when you want to cook, when you're interested in it, when you're feeling the love for it, do it then. And then you don't have to do it on the times that you don't want to.
I love it. I love it. And the other things is I'm just listening to you is making me think. So I no longer cook the big Christmas lunch on Christmas Day. And, I'm not Christian, but a lot of families like mine, and I do quite a bit of talking and commenting on this, is Christmas is just a festive time. It's a holiday period. So people will often have their friends round anyway. And I don't know why, for the love of me, but I invite my wonderful neighbors round for like a drinks thing. And inevitably, it's the worst time of the year because there's so much going on. So do you have tips for people like me as well who just, want to cook or invite people around for the fun of it in amidst a pretty crazy time?
Yeah, there's lots in there that is canapes as well that you can get ready in advance, little nibbles. There's even drinks down to like, let's get your espresso martini made in advance.
Can you actually do that?
Yes. When people come over and you have to sit and weigh and measure out everything and then
Yes.
make yeah, you can make it in a big jug. You can have it all ready. And then in your fridge, you can do it a couple of days in advance. You can have the cold coffee ready. And then you're just whizzing it up in your mixer and you've got the perfect espresso martini. So it's not always about the freezer. Some of it is about just getting ready in advance if you've got drinks and nibbles that you want to have people over for. So
I love the sound of that, having a pre-mixed cocktail at home. That's just chilling in the fridge. That is very, very good, isn't it? Love the sound of all of this. Is there a favorite tip from the book apart from the espresso martini? Because that is one that I'm going to take to my grave now. Who and why at Christmas?
It's what I use my thermal mix the most for. I
Is
just
it?
constantly thermal mix espresso martinis, so that's very good.
I love this. This is why I love the Scottish. Can I just say that is my second bias for this podcast? I have really good friends in Edinburgh as well, Suzanne, which I think is near where you are.
Yeah.
But yeah, love that. What's your other favorite tip from the book that you think should just become a thing?
Okay, my favorite tip is that make roast potatoes in advance and get them frozen. They are going to, there's a lot of things in the book that if you like entertaining throughout the year, there's things in the book that you can use. So I'd say about 3/4 of it you can use for the whole year. And roast potatoes, I have been making these for 20 years like this. Firstly, you don't peel them. You just buy Mars
Wow.
and you wash them. We're not even going to peel them. We're going to just negate the time of that. And then you're just parboiling them. Then you're covering them in either goose fat or olive oil, whatever you want to, salt and pepper, add your herbs on, and then you flash freeze them parboiled on a tray and then give them 2 hours, and then you just lift them all out into your freezer bag and you can pull out as many as you want throughout the weeks or months ahead, and you just have the perfect roast potato cooked from frozen, and it will be the crispiest roast potato you've ever had.
Really? And how long would that stash last? How long can you have them in the freezer?
So they'll last 3 months in the freezer.
Will they? That is incredible. That's I would never have thought to do that because potatoes are starchy. So here's another question for you. Is it very obvious? I don't think it's very obvious to know what freezes well and what doesn't. Do you offer tips on that as well, presumably?
Yeah, nearly everything freezes pretty good. I mean, you can freeze nearly everything, but it's how you freeze it. So there are certain rules to it, and I always put like the sort of the first sort of 20 pages of my book are always about, the top tips of freezing and
Love it.
defrosting and all of that. So if you're new to it, don't worry. And you can get it all free online as well. So
Okay, amazing.
yeah. Um there's certain things that work and certain things don't. If you're on a extremely low fat diet, not a lot of low fat freezes very well. You need a certain amount of fat content to freeze things. And if it's very watery vegetables, so like tomatoes or things, you can freeze them, but you're then going to have to use them in a different way. So you could freeze them and use them in a sauce, but again, you're not going to put them on a salad. So there's just certain rules to abide by. And I generally just list them and tell you what they are at the start so that everybody knows. So it's the easiest way to do it.
Sounds good to me. Quickly, because of course, if you cut me open, I'm half rice. So does rice freeze well? Do you have any tips on that?
Rice freezes great. Yeah, really well. And for a long time, people didn't think that you could reheat rice, and you can. Like
Of course you can.
yes. But there's still something was said years ago that, you can't reheat rice, and people have stuck to it. But no, rice dishes are fantastic. I mean, I freeze paella. I freeze flavored rice for my kids, so instead of buying those packets that are like take a minute in the microwave, you can make all different ones that you have yourself that just come straight out of the freezer. I think my main tip on that is quantities. Make sure you get your quantities right. There's still a nation of rice cookers out there that are just, making giant pans of rice that they don't need to eat. But if you do that, whatever you've got left over, know that you can freeze it.
This is fascinating. I mean, that myth has not gone away about reheating rice. And it's, to me, endlessly fascinating because there are cultures literally who have built recipes the world loves based on cooking leftover rice. Like, hello, fried rice, right? So I don't know why it lingers, but there is a way. Obviously, you have to cool it quickly before you freeze it, and you have to wash it well so there's no starch, so it doesn't just, disintegrate. But yeah, very happy to hear your thoughts on freezing rice, and big fan of that.
What I often do as well, if you were following one of my recipes and it was like a risotto recipe, it will tell you to stop at a certain point in the recipe if you want to freeze it. Because you're going to undercook it. Because if you're putting it in the freezer, so if I was doing a double portion, one for tonight and one for the freezer, I would stop at a certain point, take some of the portion out that was going in the freezer, because I want that to freeze undercooked, because it's going to come out and be cooked till it's piping hot, and then the rice will be perfect. People often wonder if their rice dishes have gone sort of really stodgy. It's because they've fully cooked the rice, then froze it, and then reheated it again.
I see. So you're overcooking it essentially,
Yeah.
which would make no sense, would it? I don't possess a single one of your books, and I'm immediately drawn to going and making a purchase. Or maybe I'll just speak to your publisher and they'll send me a copy. But what should someone listening to this who would like to start being better at batch cooking, what book would you recommend from your library?
I think I would probably say go for, I'm going to grab it actually. If you wanted to try one, either, go for the Christmas one if you're entertaining lots.
Yes.
Or try the Grab and Cook book, which is about what we discussed. So this is all the ones that you prep in advance. So there's no cooking at all in any of these in terms of before they go in the freezer. But really just, come along, follow me on Instagram, on The Batch Lady, on YouTube. You'll find me anywhere on The Batch Lady. And I also have a website that's full of recipes and advice and courses that you can do, and they are all free. There's no ads, everything is free, so you can just go on and have a look and get started, and it doesn't cost you a penny.
Well, that sounds amazing, Suzanne. Well, listen, good luck with the Christmas book, which sounds incredible. And I feel like I should read anyway, because there'll be loads of useful things in there just to get through this festive period effectively, which is completely chaotic normally on my end. And thank you very much for sharing your amazing tips. Good luck and go forth and keep conquering. Bye.